Going to check the system's all working with the chat. And then we'll just slowly wait for people to join. Hello, people joining. I can see people coming on slowly. Apologies for being a couple minutes late. We'll just give it a few moments before we get started. Just to allow people to join. But what we sometimes do in our webinar sessions, just to check everything's working okay. If you want to let us know where you're joining us from in the chat function, it's always nice for us to know where you are, but also to check everything's working okay. I think I've just changed the settings, so it should work. Sometimes Zoom doesn't automatically let it work for us. See if it's working. We've been blessed with some nice sunny weather here in the UK the last few days. Valentina, where are you based? Are you here in London or are you?
No, I'm based in Milan, and I think it's kind of English weather right now in this time of the season, unfortunately. But yeah, at the moment it's sunny and I'm just enjoying the light coming from the window.
Ah, good. Yeah, we've had some glorious weather the last few days, unusual for this time of year, but hoping for a good summer.
Lucky you, a lot of rain and thunders here in Italy, so.
Oh, well, we've swapped with you then.
Yeah.
We must have done. Okay, so let's get started with just some introductions. We're still waiting for one of our colleagues, Professor Julia Hornley, to join us, but I'm sure she'll be here shortly. But I'll just start by opening up and introducing the session. So hello to everyone. My name is Charlotte Burton. I'm the marketing manager for the Centre for Commercial Law Studies. And my role is to provide opportunities for you as prospective students of CCLS to find out a bit more all about what we do here at Queen Mary when it comes to law and particular programs as well. So today's session is a particularly interesting session because it's about one of our online programs, which is quite a unique offering that we have here at Queen Mary. So the session will run, we'll have a short presentation by my colleagues here who are allowed to introduce themselves in a moment. And then Valentina is one of our alumna, and she's going to give you just a few slides from her perspective of how she's experienced studying on the programme. And then we'll have time for questions at the end. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat or the Q&A function, and we can monitor them as we go along and answer anything that's very specific, but we might save your questions to the end. So please don't worry if we haven't got to your questions. It might just be that we're saving them for the benefit of everyone at the end of the session during the Q&A. So without further ado, let's do some introductions. Laura, would you like to go first and we'll kind of go round?
Thanks, Charlotte. Hi, I'm Laura Edgar and I'm the Programme Director for the Technology, Media and Telecommunications course. So if you do have any academic questions after the programme and you want to contact me directly, that's fine. I can talk you through any aspect of the course, how it runs, how it's taught, and the sort of content that you'll come across. But thank you for joining the session.
Thank you, Laura. Julia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Julia Hornley. I obviously have taught on the distance learning program since its inception in 2003, so for the last 20 years. And I've enjoyed it very much. We had some fantastic students over the last 20 years, many of whom I'm still in contact with. So I'm a great fan of the distance learning program. I'm a professor of internet law and I teach sort of jurisdictional issues on the internet, especially in relation to e-commerce, but also online media law. So you're very welcome. Hello.
Thanks, Julia. Angeliki, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you, Charlotte and Julia and Laura. I am the program coordinator, actually from the admin side of this of the distance learning program. We work very close with Laura and Hall with anything that has to do with this program, and I will be your first point of contact for anything that you may need in relation to the structure, organizing, and yeah, everything that has to do with the program. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Angeliki. And last but not least, Valentina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you all for having me here today. I'm Valentina Torelli. I'm a former student of the TMT Law LLM. I studied the distance learning program from 2016 until 2020. I'm an Italian qualified lawyer, and at the moment, I focus my activity on data protection and IT, although I started my career as an IP lawyer, and the TMT Law LLM had a pivotal role in this shift from one field of the law to the others too. So thank you.
Lovely, thank you. So we can go on to the presentation. We've just invited Rania as well, who's one of our current students. She's just trying to join, but maybe we'll wait and get her to introduce herself afterwards. Julia, are you happy to share your screen?
I do that right now. Let me just see, make sure it works. Can you all see my screen in terms of the presentation? And not my emails, please.
Yeah, we can see your screen perfectly. Lovely.
Great. So shall I start talking? I guess we'll probably all chip in as we go along. Oh, hi, Rania. I can see you now.
Hello.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
I had the same issue. It asked me to register, but then I did click through and I didn't have to register. So I guess it's just the gremlins in Zoom this morning or this afternoon. Okay, so as I said, I'm a professor of internet law. I will probably, with Laura and others will chip in, briefly present the program and our Center for Commercial Studies, but I'll be quick. So obviously, we are one of the Russell Group universities in the UK. We are a research-intensive university. I guess that's what's signified by a Russell Group university. All of us carry out, in addition to our various teaching activities, we carry out professional advice activities and also funded research. But I will say a little bit more about that when I introduce the teaching personnel and who will be teaching you. So I guess really the Center for Commercial Law Studies sees itself very much as a global law school. We have a very, very international composition, both in terms of our LLM students, our PhD students, our distance learning students, and of course our staff. So they're really experts from all around the world, teaching various specialized aspects of commercial law. So, as I said, it's a research-led community. There's an active program of events, seminars, networking opportunities, and we have a very diverse student body, which I think is what probably the reason why I have stayed personally, why I have stayed for the last 23 years at CCLS, because we obviously learn from each other, doing a lot of comparative law, and I think that's a wonderful experience on a global level. I point out here our events page, where you, if you have a minute, can have a look at the sort of past events. We had something, at least 10 events each month, and it gives you an idea of the sort of variety of things and we teach and research. And then I just want to point out, we also engage our alumni. So if you become a member of the Queen Mary or CCLS community, you will probably stay so for the rest of your life. And we try to engage our alumni. So we've kind of created what we call chapters in different jurisdictions. These are often led by alumni, but obviously with the involvement of us, the professors as well. And we do seminars. So for example, last year, we did a really interesting seminar with an Indian law firm on the regulation of AI, which I organized, and it was very well attended and very interesting. So we have obviously these specialized groups, because I think law is becoming more and more specialized. And I think the unique feature of CCLS is that we have so many different specializations, which is then also reflected in the LLM in London. And obviously the distance learning focuses on technology, media and telecommunications law, and is therefore hosted within our Technology, Media and Telecommunications Law Institute. But as you can see from this, we obviously have a long-standing intellectual property research institute, QIMPRI, which has, many years back received a significant amount of money from the Herschel Smith Foundation. So Queen Mary and CCLS has had a very long and established history of teaching and researching IP law, and is probably number one in the UK, both in the IP and IT law. Just so sort of to give you an idea of the structure of the LLM, in principle, that obviously also applies to distance learning. You have to achieve 180 credits to obtain an LLM. So obviously you have to pass modules and a dissertation. You have to choose between a 30 and 60 credit dissertation. Now, in terms of module choice, we have around 20 modules. I think I counted 21, but I think with one of them, I wasn't sure whether it's still being offered. And usually we offer about 3 to 4 modules during each semester. And they usually come up on a 2-year cycle. And on the right, you see here some of the modules which are currently being offered. As I say, the dissertation is obviously one large chunk of the LLM, and Rania will know about this because she's working currently on her dissertation. It's a chance for you really to research an area, a topic of interest in a little bit more detail, which I think often is very satisfying because it helps you to gain expertise in a very specific area. It's independent research, but it is supported by us. So you'll be allocated a supervisor, and you have, 3 or maybe even 4 meetings where you discuss the scope and the topic and what makes a suitable dissertation and what is maybe too much work, and helping you and supporting you. Because I think often shaping the dissertation is actually quite difficult, unless obviously you've been writing and publishing articles for years and years, and you're used to that. But that's hopefully where we can actually support you. I think one of the great strengths, and maybe the reason why distance learning is so successful, is that it's tailored to your own circumstances. And our students really come from very different backgrounds or very different situations in their current life. Some people want to specialize in a very deep way into a specific area. Others, we have obviously partners in law firms, for example, who later in life decide that it's time to do an LLM and do something for them. I remember I spoke to one of the leading partners in a media law firm, and he said, "Oh, actually, I'd really like to do your distance learning LLM because my daughter has just finished her master's in a different area." And he said, "Now it's time for me to have a bit of fun and do education." So, but most people, I think, do it mainly to focus their career in a specific area. It's also been, I think, an opportunity for some people, usually, I guess, women who are in a phase of their life where they focus more on bringing up children, as a way of staying in touch with their specific area of law. I think it has often helped people to get a job in a particular area, obviously now TMT law in the tech industry. So most people, I think, do it in a time span of 3 to 6 years, but you can do it in 2 years. So we have two types of tracks. Now, how do we teach? What are the teaching methods? Basically, QMUL has developed its own e-learning platform based on Moodle, and we use that for content delivery and also interaction. So you get structured weekly course materials, obviously for you to read and work on. We have things like obviously recorded lectures, audio. I mean, all of this is pretty standard stuff. But I think the special thing and the important thing about our distance learning course that it's quite interactive. So if you want, I know everyone can make it, you know, each time there isn't a seminar or a discussion, but most people make it for most of them. And that gives you then a chance also to meet obviously your classmates and to have that international exposure, hopefully, between, you know, often people from different continents in one class. And generally we try to provide an interactive and supportive environment. Here's the teaching staff. We obviously use some experts and some practitioners as well, but these are the main members of teaching staff in the TMT Law Institute who will teach you. Ian Walden has made his mark obviously in telecommunications law. He does a lot of international advisory work on cybercrime now. He obviously also teaches cybercrime, but he's written the cybercrime legislation in most countries in the world. So he's the expert really, I think, on cyber forensics and cybercrime. Then obviously myself, Professor Christopher Miller joined us. Oh God, it's a long time ago now, probably 15 years, but he was a managing partner in several top city law firms in London, Linklaters and Clifford Chance. He is the expert for data protection regulation in the UK. Gavin Suter is doing is the expert for media law, and he has been teaching media law for many years. Obviously, Laura Edgar teaches AI and regulation of AI. That's her expertise. Chris Reed has started, I think, TMT law at CCLS in the 80s. In terms of computer law at a time when no one was really thinking about computer law. He's just publishing a book on fairness in AI, which I think it's fair to say will be one of those groundbreaking works in law and AI. And Professor Anne Flanagan is also a data protection expert. She's from the US. She started her career, I think, originally many years back as an insurance lawyer, but she's also been at CCLS for almost or over 20 years, and she teaches information security law. Here's some useful links which you may need for your reference. Thank you very much. I hope that wasn't too long, but hopefully that's given you a brief overview of the program. Thank you very much for listening.
Fabulous. Thank you, Julia. Lovely and timely, so we can pass over to Valentina.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen too. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Great. So, as I mentioned before, I'm an Italian qualified lawyer, and I started practicing law in the IP law field. Then I discovered the impact that technology has on the everyday life of people, and I decided that it was necessary for my professional growth to gain in-depth knowledge and understanding of the interplay between technology and the law. So I started searching for other specializing programs as I was working for a boutique firm in Spain, in Madrid, and I came across the CCLS TMT Law LLM, and I decided that could be the choice in order to shift my professional path from IP to IT law and data protection and privacy law. So now in these few slides, I'm going to tell you what the distance learning program provided me with, and what I really enjoyed during my studies with the CCLS. Also, I would like to provide you with a few takeaways on the impact that the program had overall on my professional career, and of course, I will give you some suggestions. First of all, high quality education. there's no doubt that the quality of the professors' expertise, both on the academic and as a side and as a practitioners, really provide the added value to the overall learning process. Their expertise is coupled with the possibility for students to have access to the Queen Mary University Library. All online resources can be found and searched very easily through the portal which Julia referred before. And overall, the fact that you could be a professional or a particular circumstance in your life is eased by the fact that you really have a very enjoyable work-study balance and all the flexibility that you might need while studying the program. For instance, when I was living in Madrid, there were plenty of times during which I spent the weekends at the Retiro Park studying using my laptop and connected to the portal, downloading documents and reading materials in preparation for the weekly calls and the weekly assignments I had to fulfill during my studies. And this allows me to talk about the methodology, the different types of commitment that you have to fulfill during the learning process, such as participating to the weekly calls, answering to the weekly assignments, like a sort of very easy but still comprehensive questions about the program, the weekly program of each modules of your choice, the necessity to draft a structured and well-researched essay at the end of each modules, and the final exam providing the overall grade of the module, really trigger different types of study methodologies, from the reading to the researching on the Queen Mary University Library, researching on the internet, the exchange of emails with the professors and other classmates, and the participation to the forum, which are, or at least were present on the platform. You could access to this forum space and just provide comments and inputs in order to start a discussion with the course mates. Professors were always very supportive and available in providing feedbacks about any type of request for clarifications or why not the corrections to the essays and the exams. Also, the technical and the administrative staff of the CCLS were very, very helpful in providing support with any type of IT trouble in the connection to the platform or the necessity to change from one module to another. And of course, I have been talking about lengthily about this platform, and I think it's a very useful tool to track the progresses that you have during the learning path, because as Julia mentioned, it's a long run. It can last 2 years. In my case, it lasted 4 years. Actually, during the first 2 years of study, I was able to pass 3 modules per year. Then I decided to slow down the learning progress. By that time, I also changed the firm with which I was collaborating. I returned to Italy and I started collaboration with an international firm. So the workload increased, and I needed more time to finalize the last 2 modules and prepare myself for the dissertation and the finalization of the LLM program. So what I enjoyed the most, of course, the possibility to have all the freedom and the flexibility as I needed according to my personal and professional circumstances. Then the possibility to face a different type of methodologies during the study, the participation on the weekly online calls with the professors and the course mates, the drafting of the essays. I received very useful feedbacks on how to improve my writing skills, not only from an English language perspective, as I'm not a native speaker, but also from a professional point of view as a lawyer. And then, of course, the possibility to start networking with course mates, which most of the time are very prepared professionals in their field of law and their jurisdictions coming from all over the world. The professors' availability and support is certainly an added value to the overall program, because they really provide feedback on a timely fashion, and they try to support you in every way possible. And last but not least, the residential weekends. Every year in June, the CCLS organizes a residential weekend lasting 2 days, during which professors and students can interact, showing their presentations on a particular field of research. I joined the residential weekend in June 2018. The picture that you see on this slide was taken by me in Lincoln Inns Field, which is the place where the CCLS building is located. I provided a presentation about data protection and machine learning, and both were Professor Edgar and Flanagan were involved in the review of the presentation. The top three aspects which mostly impacted on my professional career are those you can see on this slide. Of course, having the CCLS and all the material provided by it as a point of reference for ongoing improvement and study has been of valuable help during my working hours too. And indeed, I applied the concepts and the principles I learned during the distance learning programs in my professional career, providing advice to clients in the private practice. And certainly the networking. Julia was mentioning the fact that the alumni are involved, can be still involved in the CCLS events. For instance, the alumni chapter of the TMT LLM program organizes webinars, and I'm also involved in this type of activities, and I had the pleasure to host some of these webinars along with some of my former course mates, and they are excellent professionals. So networking is certainly a very important aspect of the program. What tips and suggestions I may give you for your choices in terms of the distance learning programs? Well, take your time to decide according to your personal and professional situation what kind of path is most suitable to you. You can design your own program because you can choose the modules you're going to study. Please interact as much as possible with course mates and professors using all the means that are provided by the program, not only the platform where you can find a chat box, the forum where you can, as I said, provide comments and start discussion on your own, but also by email and on the social networks such as LinkedIn. And then take advantage of all the the unlimited resources that you can find on the Queen Mary University Library, which is fully accessible online using the distance learning portal. And then, of course, participate in all the possible events that are organized by the CCLS, not only webinars, but also the residential weekends and on-site events. If you, of course, if you can travel and is not so much disruptive for your life. And that's it. I hope that this very, very short presentation can be helpful to you, and I thank you all for listening.
Brilliant. Thank you, Valentina. It's really helpful. I'm sure it'll be really useful for people viewing to find out how it's benefited you as well for the future. Okay, so that's our presentations kind of complete. We can go into Q&A. Laura, is there anything as program director that you wanted to kind of add at all before we go into questions? Or?
Yeah, just maybe a little bit more about how the course is run. I would say, I mean, there is a level of flexibility and there's obviously the restrictions that are placed on us from the university, but the idea behind it is that you can study along with other commitments, your very busy full-time working jobs often, family commitments, and everything else that's going on in your life. So the idea is that you can try and fit the reading, the research, the answering tasks around everything else. I mean, as Julia mentioned, we have a lot of material which is online that you can access at the time that you are available to do so, but we also hold some live sessions, so you have the chance to discuss in more detail, to ask questions, to delve into some of those topics with the teaching staff, but also with your fellow students. I mean, I think one of the benefits is meeting all those other students who are in the same boat as you, who are, you know, different stages of their career, talking to them about what's happening in different jurisdictions. You know, when we talk about copyright issues, or we talk about AI issues or e-commerce, we're looking at what happens in different countries around the world. So one of the great things is bringing in knowledge from the countries that all of you as students are working in, and sharing that knowledge and developing and discussing those issues in more depth. I mean, I know a number of people have gone away with good friendships from the programme and keep in touch as colleagues, and keep in touch if they have future questions about things that are happening in different jurisdictions. So there's not just the benefit from the ongoing studying, but also at the later stage afterwards. And, you know, as has been mentioned, the alumni stick together afterwards and do present events. So when there are new developments taking place in somebody's field, they can come back and present that, which I think is all very helpful. I mean, in terms of time commitments, we do see that the work will take maybe around 10 hours per week. You know, it could be between 8 and 12 hours per week. Some weeks a bit heavier, some weeks a bit lighter. The course is structured over teaching weeks of 12 weeks. So we have 12 weeks of teaching weeks, which are usually divided into a number of different units or different topics, which could be 2 or 3 weeks. And you'll be expected to engage in some reading, perhaps some videos, perhaps some audio, and then answer several tasks through those 12 weeks. So often 3 tasks which are assessed, but perhaps some extra tasks just to make sure you understand the materials. And then at the end of those 12 weeks, there'll be an assessment. So an essay of around about 3,000 words. So the fixed deadlines are obviously the essay submission and when the tasks are submitted. But the rest of the reading material you engage with at your own pace, and hopefully you can make the interactive sessions, but we understand people are in full-time committed jobs often, so it's a case of catching up where you can. And for the majority of these are recorded. Now, as Julia mentioned, we offer around 3 or 4 modules per term, and you select 1 or 2 modules. And when we usually say at the beginning, choose one, see how you get on, see how it fits in with your other time commitments. But obviously, some periods of the year are busier and some periods of the year are not so busy. So you're not required to take a module in every session, but you can take 1 or 2 modules if you have more flexibility. We also have a research paper. Julia mentioned the dissertation, but in addition to the dissertation, if you want to research a particular area, perhaps which engages with your line of work or is going to be useful to you, you can choose a topic and write a shorter paper there, or even as preparation for a dissertation if you haven't previously written a dissertation and you want to engage with more independent research before you take on the dissertation. So there is, I would say, flexibility in terms of which modules you choose, how you structure it, and how long you take to complete the program, and also in terms of choosing those topics where you're researching a paper that you want or writing your own dissertation. I think that's all I want to say now, but I wonder, Angeliki, if you wanted to add anything else as well.
We have, sorry to interrupt, and Angeliki, it would be great if you add, but just so we don't forget, there's a question about the syllabus and the module requirements. So Winnie is asking, is it possible to share the syllabus that shows the required reading and grading requirements? And that reminds me also, we haven't really talked about assessment. So Laura, would you maybe say something about that?
Yes, so the assessment for each module is usually a 300-word essay. For a couple of the modules, we have a 24-hour exam, but the majority are assessed by a 3,000-word essay and also 3 tasks during the module. Now, each of these tasks is a short task. You know, it might be a short case study, it might be analyzing a short point, but usually only around 750 words, which contributes to 10% of your final mark. So 3 tasks, each worth 10%, and then an essay at the end, which is worth 70% of your final mark. So from these tasks, you'll get some feedback, so you know what you're doing well, perhaps what you're not doing so well, what else you need to think about before you submit your final essay. There are deadlines for these tasks, but there's a little bit of flexibility if, for example, you have a big case that comes up and you have you might need to ask your tutor for a little bit of flexibility there, but our essay deadlines are strict, and unfortunately from the university perspective we can't change those, so you work towards that final essay. The essay topics, you have a number of weeks to work on those. I think they're released in week 4 or 5, Angeliki, is that right? And then you submit them in about week 13 or 14. So you have 7 or so weeks to work on that topic, which relates to the subject area of the module that you're choosing. So in AI, it may be a choice of topics on looking at some of the copyright issues or the regulation of AI. You might get a chance to choose the topic that's most interesting to you and work on that in a bit more detail. Angeliki, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Actually, that's a very comprehensive description of the program. It just the only thing that I would like to add is, first of all, that some of the essay questions are set by the module conveners, depending on the module that you're in. Others, they are of your own choice, and you have to agree with your module convener that these are the they are happy with the choice of of the topic. And a kind of note here regarding the residential weekend. We don't call it anymore residential because during COVID and afterwards, we hold this online. So it is a presentation. We still try to bring people together, but in a virtual environment on this now, because this gives more opportunities to everyone to participate. And we had examples of people joining us from Alaska or from wherever in the world they are. So it is the same idea of presenting, of students to present their work and have guest speakers to present their own research and other areas that they may be of any interest for the students, but online. So it can be 1 day or 2 days, depending on how many students we have, how many presentations we have, always in June. That is, it remained the same. That's the thing that I want to add.
Thanks, Angeliki. I think it's also worth mentioning, I've actually met some distance learning students that have been in London. They want to just come and see CCLS, and I've given them a tour around the building. So it kind of goes without saying that if you're around, you're always very welcome to come and see us, even if you're a distance learning student, and particularly those events that Julia mentioned earlier on, they're open to everyone. So if you're ever in London, please do come by and see us.
So someone asked about an example of a syllabus. Now, obviously, each course convener has their own syllabus, but if you just want to get an impression, I can share my screen and show you what I have taught recently. This is the module on ODR. And obviously, you can't read through it all now because we haven't got the time, but just give you an idea. I always do a sort of lesson plan, which obviously has the objectives and the assessment, etc., and then the content. And so you're given reading. So you're supposed in this particular module to read 1 or 2 pieces every 2 weeks. And there might be a video in there. And then you have an activity. So for example, in this case, it was a Zoom discussion. What is ODR? What are the benefits and disadvantages, for example? So we discussed that for an hour. Obviously, depending on who is on the module, sometimes there will be 2 different sessions with the discussion because people are in different time zones, or they have, some people prefer the weekend, other people prefer the evening. So there's a degree of flexibility, but as I say, it depends a little bit on the module convener and obviously their requirements too. So just a quick, because you sort of will be wondering, what does this look like? This is what it looks like. You get your reading, you get some recordings, and then there'll be a task or a weekly activity where we discuss things all together. So just to answer that question. I don't know whether Rania or Maria or Elmira, who are 3 current distance learning students, whether you want to add anything maybe about a dissertation or about a teaching. Otherwise, obviously, please let us know your questions as well.
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing. Probably the most thing that helped me survive this virtual atmosphere of the LLM, because definitely being in person is quite different than being virtual, is to connect with your colleagues as much as possible. And being a non-English first speaker as a first language, this has helped me a lot. So you get to connect with your colleagues, understand the program. You can even ask about a certain model before taking it on a second semester to know more how it's structured from a previous student. And this was quite helpful. I mean, we have a WhatsApp chat for all us students in TMT. Some are first year, some are second year, and this has helped a lot. So probably this is the best advice I could give. And the other thing is, don't go tough on yourself when going on a TMT program. I used to tell Angelique at the beginning, I'll kill it in 2 years. Then I discovered no, 2 years might be impossible if you want to juggle all balls properly. So it requires studying. You might be ending up bulking studying hours on a weekend. That's normal if you're juggling work and studies. So better to go with a slow pace than with a very fast pace and go crazy. Yeah, because it is tough to juggle both at the same time.
May I add something here? Thank you, Rania. I'm very glad that current students are in this webinar, actually. We are all very glad about that. I want to add something in connection with one of the questions on the chat, in terms of regarding the attendance. Okay, attendance on the distance learning is different. So we don't expect you to be in a class every week. It's a very different experience. Of course, reading the materials, going through the materials, it is something that you need to do, obviously, in order to be able to cope with this, with the assessment and everything of the module. But as Rania said, attendance has to do with the connection with your co-student, I mean, with your fellow students. And it will be, there are weekly or every 2 weeks, there are kind of forums and chats with the students, and it's very important to be part of it, because it's a different experience. The distance learning experience is different. So if you don't have this you don't build this kind of connection, it would be very difficult. It will feel very isolated in this sense.
And I can see Maria's raised a hand, so I've
Yes, thank you, Charlotte. Hi, everyone. I'm a current student in the program. and wanted to also provide a little bit of my experience in response to some of the questions in the webinar. And indeed, I can also concur with Angeliki and with the previous presenters that the sessions which we've got as chat sessions or as a discussion for the different modules are quite helpful in the sense that they give you an opportunity to also get some more clarity on the reading you're making. And sometimes these sessions also help you how to deal with the essay. If you have an assignment due and you have a discussion the week before, that gives you time to process some of that information, to brainstorm a bit, maybe to target your reading in a way that you can also understand the subject a bit better. So I would encourage you indeed is go to every session that you can, attend every session as much as possible. And of course, there are situations where you may not be able to attend it, but that's when you can also request that the session is recorded. But the sessions are very, very helpful. It's a way to get to know your colleagues. It's a way to also have an open discussion. And it's a question answer session. It's a way to also get more clarity on the material you're reading. And another thing I wanted to point out that you're not alone. I think many of us who are doing this course are adults with families or other obligations, and indeed juggling is can be a challenge. So you just have to be a bit disciplined, organize yourself, plan ahead, see when you need to deliver, and just do the best you can, and don't think that you're alone in this whole journey. I think there's many other colleagues just like you, and also our professors understand this, and they're very supportive, and it's a journey together, and it's a very, very positive experience so far. For me, I've done 4 modules, and it's a very nice experience.
Thank you, Maria. It's really nice to have some additional input. So I think we've got one more question, which I just want to clarify, and Angeliki can probably help. If someone was local, could they get access to the facilities on campus? They can.
Yep, they can. They are students of Queen Mary, so they have a student ID. They will get the student and have access to the same library, are all the libraries, the resources as all the other students. Yes.
Okay, lovely. I was sure that that would be the case, but I didn't know how that would work in terms of collecting a card or something. So I thought I'd check with you. Elmira, you?
Yeah, I had students coming in too. So, we had actually one-to-one dissertation supervision in person in the past, or, just going for coffee or attending seminars. Yeah, so for people who are in London or at least not too far away, that does happen, and it's very nice and always encouraged and welcome, of course.
Lovely. Elmira, you had your hand up. Was there anything you wanted to add at all?
Yeah, thank you very much, and it's lovely to see you all, and thank you for inviting me. So I'm also a current student, so I'm a student doing the variable program, so this one, the longest one. Just wanted to share with you my views with regard to attending the campus. So I'm currently based in London, but because of my job and family circumstances, I have chosen to do the program as a distance. On a distant basis. So I'm also, in addition to learning the TMT courses, I'm also attending the Legal program, and have an opportunity to come to the campus and to participate in all webinars as well. So this year I participated in Future of Law program of Legal, and doing the legal design project with students who are doing the program on a full-time basis. It was a very interesting experience and exciting. I'm very glad that I had an opportunity to participate in it. So and I can come to the campus and go to the library and attend all webinars. So it's very useful and good. And I have a very positive experience, and I love this program. So because I can adapt it to my circumstances, it's very flexible. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really nice to be able to hear about your contribution to Q Legal. as well and be able to have access to that. It's such a huge benefit for students to have opportunities like QLegal. So to be able to share that you've accessed that as a distance learning student is really great to hear. Okay, I can see questions being answered in the chat, which is great. So we're all kind of covered there. So if we haven't got any other questions, we can probably close it slightly earlier, unless there's anything that anyone wanted to add that we may have missed. Laura, Julia, Valentina, Galiki, anything else that you feel we might want to share with you?
Yeah, just briefly, that a student was asking about the costs, and some students take the progress route of starting with a certificate, which is 60 credits, then moving to a diploma and then moving to an LLM. I mean, it really depends on what your current background is and what you know that you want to do, but there's a sort of pro rata cost for certificate, diploma, and from the full cost of the LLM if you wanted to start with that route.
So yeah, they actually build on each other, right? So if you say you decide to do a diploma, actually this is what usually happens. People do the diploma, and then they think, oh well, there's only another 60 credits to take. I'll top it up to an LLM. So it is flexible in that way as well. So you can start with a certificate and then just see how you go. And you might think, oh no, actually this is too much work, or I have too much at work, so I can't do the LLM. So in a way, that gives you a sort of taster, I guess. And but most people actually continue to the LLM because I think they just enjoy it. So.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. If we haven't got any other questions, I think we'll kind of wrap up there. I think it's just worth saying also that if you haven't applied already, applications are still open, and you can still make an application now, so you're not too late at all. And obviously, if you've already got an offer, you've already made an application, hopefully this has helped to help make that decision for you in terms of accepting your offer. So I'll close this off there and just say a really big thank you to everyone for joining today. It's been so lovely to have a full webinar of lots of different perspectives. It makes a difference hearing lots of different voices, and offers different opinions and perspectives. So it's really nice for those watching as well, and for me hosting. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone that's joining. Please keep an eye on your emails, as I will send a recording of this out, so you've got this for reference. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to get in touch, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. So I wish everyone a lovely rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.